Today is June the 23rd. Did Jesus really rise from the dead? Let's find out together as we read sections from the Passion narrative. Today and tomorrow we finish reading the Gospels as we read through the Bible in a year. Today I'd like you to read Matthew chapter 28, verses 1 to 15, Mark 16, verses 1 to 8, Luke 24, verse 1 to 43, and John chapter 20. In these verses, we have several different episodes that occur after the resurrection of Jesus. All four Gospels agree that the first to see Jesus were the women who came to the tomb to prepare Jesus' body for burial. Now, Jesus had been buried. He was buried late on Friday. It was now Sunday morning. He had been in the tomb for 18 hours. He had been in the tomb for 3 successive days, a couple of hours on Friday, all day Saturday, and then 12 hours on Sunday from what we would recognize as Saturday night till sunup on Sunday morning. Apparently, the women didn't know that a stone had been placed there or that a Roman guard had been placed at the tomb. They only knew that they wanted to pay homage to Jesus. They wanted to anoint his body with perfume. They got to the tomb and they found it empty. All four Gospels tell us that. Some of the Gospels tell us that 2 men dressed in white, we assume they're angels, came to them and said, "Why are you looking for one who is living among the dead? He's not here." The women went running to tell the disciples. The disciples, when they heard, didn't understand and didn't believe. But Luke says, Luke chapter 24, verse 12, Peter jumped up and ran to the tomb to look. Stooping, he peered in and saw the empty linen wrappings. Then he went home again, wondering what had happened. The book of John expands that verse quite a bit. Tells the story of not just Peter, but Peter and the disciple that Jesus loved, whether that's John or perhaps Lazarus, who is called in the book of John, the one that he loved. They ran to the tomb. They examined the grave clothes that they found there and found no body. In the book of Luke, we see the story of 2 of Jesus' followers who begin to walk to the village of Emmaus, about 7 miles away. On the road to Emmaus, a man joins them. They talk with the man. They talk about what has happened. They tell him about Jesus and express their deep disappointment because they thought Jesus was the Messiah. The man says, "Well, don't you know Scripture?" And explains to them how the Messiah would die and then rise from the dead. They all stopped. They got out some food. They began to eat. The man with them broke the bread, handed it to them. And then, and only then, did they realize it was Jesus. How? Why? Don't know. Maybe they saw the scars on his hand when he gave them the bread. Maybe their eyes were simply covered and that covering was taken away. But they recognized it was Jesus. Instead of going on to Emmaus, they ran back to Jerusalem to tell the disciples. Then in the book of Luke, Jesus appears to the disciples. Now again, the book of John goes into greater detail. The first time Jesus appears to the disciples, he appears to them in a locked room. Thomas is not there. In the book of John, Thomas is there a week later, and Jesus appears to them again. When Thomas was not there the first time, the disciples said, Jesus appeared to us, and Thomas had his doubts. He said, I won't believe. I won't believe until I see the scars on his hand and the scar on his side where the spear pierced him. The second time Jesus appeared to the 12, he singles out Thomas. He said, Thomas, come here. Here are my hands. Put your fingers where the scars go. Here's my side. Put your hand where the scar is. And Thomas said, my Lord and my God. Immediately, Jesus says, you believe because you've seen me. Blessed are those who believe without seeing me. Then John writes, John chapter 20, verse 30. The disciples saw Jesus do many other miraculous signs, in addition to the ones recorded in this book. But these are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing in him, you'll have life by the power of his name. We talked today about doubting Thomas. He wasn't doubting Thomas. He just said, when I see the signs, I'll believe. Jesus shows him the signs, and Thomas says, I believe. Thomas isn't the goat of the book of John. He's the hero of the book of John. He sees and believes. So should we. The one thing that stands out in all of these stories is the disciples' amazement that Jesus did exactly what he said he would do. There are other ways that we can examine Jesus' death. I read a book recently called Alive. It's a forensic detective who examines the evidence of Jesus' resurrection. He comes to the conclusion that the only reason that you would reject the evidence is if you had predisposed yourself to believe that no one could be raised from the dead. The forensic detective said, but if Jesus is God, can't he do even that? Jesus was raised from the dead. We have eyewitness accounts here. We have accounts in literature from Jesus' time. We have a history of his disciples who gave their life for what they believed. And on down through the ages, people have given their life for what they know is a fact. Jesus was raised from the dead. Like, follow, and subscribe to this devotional on whatever platform you use to listen to it. Email your questions to us at questions@becomehope.com. Tomorrow, we'll answer the question, what were Jesus' parting instructions?